Good afternoon, Agnes.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
As an anti-trafficking expert with years of experience in the field, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in trying to stop and prevent trafficking?
Wow, that's a good question. Personally, for me, 24 hours is just too little for me in a day. Yeah. But it comes to, just personal, but also structural, in a way. But even if I tell you the challenges, I always want to get out the positives from the challenges. Personally, when I'm on missions, for example, when I almost drowned in flash floods, when I was on a mission to South Sudan, and this is something unexpected. I almost died. Somebody else saved my life. When you look at the movement in general, when you think about 150 billion that traffickers are getting, so that's the kind of money you're competing with. So for you who are trying to deal with it, there are other people who are benefiting more from that trade, than you are. So you have to put those extra efforts and all that. But that shouldn't tire us, because guess what? Much as we have challenges, even traffickers do. But when they get their challenges, they're very quick to support each other. If you want to prove it, just get one trafficker and take them to court. There are so many people who want to come and help them with bail money, getting them out. You disrupt any work they are doing. There are always people there supporting them in the process. That's what we have to learn. We can actually learn on how they cooperate among themselves. How are we supporting each other in this movement, in this counter-trafficking movement? Okay, they have more money, but can we be more creative? Can we learn more on how to deal with it? Can we let people know who are potential victims before they pounce on them? Because increasingly now they are using relatives and friends of victims to lure them.
During a Vital Voices interview, you said, "I want the world to move from a point of knowledge to action." Traffickers are afraid when we unite. With our combined talents and resources, we can rid this world of slavery. What are the ideal talents and resources you are referring to?
If you look at the different professionals and the different kinds of people who are into the counter-trafficking space, we all have different skill sets. We come from different communities, different continents, different cultural situations. So whatever is shaping our ideas, we bring to the table. For example, if you're coming to deal with trafficking, in a village and all that, who's the best person, to be involved and what? Those people in the village. So expertise comes in then. We study different things. They are scientists. You need the medical doctors. So when they are treating patients, how are we involving them to look out for those silent issues? That is something I may not look out for because I'm not a medical doctor. You need lawyers, who come with that expertise. Social scientists, that's why you find that NGOs, social workers, do better in protection than law enforcement. Law enforcement are trained to interrogate traffickers. So they have to learn how to deal with survivors. So everybody, comes, with their skill set, with their experiences, with their background.
Speaking of the involvement of survivors, often when policymakers and government officials get together, that voice, the victim's voice, the survivor's voice is missing. How would you encourage them to do a better job of including the victims?
In all the 4 Ps we are talking about, who is the best place to talk about prevention? These are people who have lived with, traffickers. They're the ones who have seen how traffickers play their rules and evade law enforcement. They will tell you that, for example, they would take them, they were trafficked, and they will have just going to speak to a policeman. Even just to ask other, they will assume, then they will think that the policemen are their friends. And then they indoctrinate them thinking that the policemen are different enemies. So prevention, they will tell you the tactics, the modus operandi. When you're talking about prevention, how do they want to be prevented? It's them to benefit from these services. So why not involve them? When you're talking about prosecutions, they'll know. Because, people will tell you that they will be frustrated, with survivors. They think they lie. A survivor will tell the so-called lies you think, but, it takes time. They are traumatized. There's a lot of trauma in the process. They are fearful. So sometimes you need to give them that space and support them in the process. So they will tell you best on how best to deal with them. Then partnerships, partner with them. Because you can imagine when a survivor comes, this was a dream, maybe they wanted to go and work. But they've come back and we're happy. But they need even jobs. So let's move away from just using survivors as or giving their testimonies and all that. They're not. Then they come and train law enforcement and you don't pay them. What nonsense is that? They need employment, they need jobs, they need to channel them. So it is about really involving them from a point of respect and from the point to actually appreciating that they also have the skills to actually do the things we do, not pro bono. Survivors are not, asked to use them for free. Yeah, they should be a meaningful engagement. Be mindful that they also need food on their plate. That when we engage them, we have to be mindful that they're also paid for their services.
And last but definitely not least, what inspired or motivated you to do the work you're doing today?
Oh my God, you have time?
You can give us the shorter version.
Yeah, shorter version. For me, like I always say, it started when I was like 14. My village, my home was attacked by the Lord's Resistance Army. And so we really had to flee. I was targeted like with other girls because they wanted virgins. So it's that narrow escape, fleeing from the Lord's Resistance Army and being displaced and living through life of displacement and trying to find my voice in that chaos and find a meaningful life. So it shaped my choices of employment, where I joined immigration service. It shaped the kind of education I did when I did forced migration at Oxford, or when I did trafficking and all that when I went to Harvard. So it shaped my education, shaped what I wanted to be like in future. So I don't know, in I don't know how many years I'll still be in the field until trafficking out. So I want people to get me out of this business by stopping trafficking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.